Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating commentary on where AI wearables meet historical privacy panics, and what this all means for the future of our social norms. Have you ever wondered what exactly happens when the devices around us stop waiting patiently for our commands and just start passively listening to absolutely everything?
Okay, let's dive right in with a wild story highlighted in our source material. So imagine a CNN reporter. She's just hanging out, playing a board game with friends, and during this game, she casually mentions that she's moving into a new apartment in the fall. No big deal, right? Well, she happened to be wearing an AI listening bracelet at the time. The next time she opens the companion app on her phone, it doesn't just, politely remind her to book movers. It tells her something else entirely. It had concluded she was experiencing anxiety about her stability and sense of home. It even suggested she photograph a beloved corner of her current place just to manage this anxiety. But here's the crazy catch. She wasn't anxious at all. She never said she was anxious. The device didn't just record a fact, it completely manufactured an inference and logged it as reality on her permanent record. So to really wrap our heads around these concerns, we're going to explore 5 key areas today. First, the rise of AI wearables. Second, the 1888 privacy panic. Third, the end of off the record. Fourth, the pressure to adapt. And finally, setting new social boundaries. Let's hit Section 1, the rise of AI wearables, from active clicking to passive listening. Now, what's really striking here is the massive contrast critics point out between visible tech and invisible tech. Think about your smartphone for a second. It announces itself. You have to actively hold it up to take a picture, and literally everyone in the room knows exactly what you're doing. It requires a baseline level of active consent from the people around you. But compare that to invisible tech. We're talking Meta Ray-Bans with built-in cameras, Amazon wristbands, or things like the Pluto Note pin that just clips right onto your shirt. These blend seamlessly into everyday clothes. They announce nothing. Even if there's a tiny little blinking capture light, the commentary rightly points out that nobody is staring at your shirt collar or your wrist during a normal conversation. The whole notion of visual consent is basically disintegrating.
And the commentary pulls from statements by major tech leaders to show us that the shift, it's entirely intentional. Take this quote from OpenAI President Sam Altman. "Clicking and typing was a phase. It was never what we wanted it to be." I mean, wow. That reveals a fundamental philosophy driving tech development right now. The whole era of actively deciding what a machine gets by, typing it out or clicking a mouse is being deliberately phased out by design.
So the crucial takeaway here is that society is rapidly shifting toward machines that simply take everything in and sort it out afterward. We're removing the gate of the keyboard. Instead of you choosing to give a machine data, the machine is just passively listening and constantly recording, completely bypassing our traditional gates of consent. Which brings us to Section 2, the 1888 privacy panic, how the Kodak box camera changed society. To truly understand this modern shift, we actually need to look backward to a surprisingly similar panic. Because, believe it or not, our modern fears aren't entirely new. Prior to 1888, taking a photo took like 30 seconds to a minute of sitting perfectly still. It inherently required your active cooperation. But then, George Eastman invents the quick snap box camera. Suddenly, someone could snap a picture of you just walking down the street. And guess what? Society totally panicked. The public didn't just quietly accept it. The commentary notes that these new cameras were actually banned at beaches and monuments. There were even groups formed in Britain specifically to thrash young men who went around taking candid photos of people. And get this wild historical fact. 15,000. Before the box camera even hit the mainstream, a staggering 15,000 hidden detective cameras were sold in the 1880s. These were literally lenses shaped like buttons that you wore hidden right under your vest. Long before modern tech, 15,000 ordinary folks bought these to secretly photograph others. It just proves that the human desire for invisible recording is a deep, recurring historical pattern. This massive public freakout over quick snap and hidden cameras is what directly led two Boston lawyers, Louis Brandeis and Samuel Warren, to literally invent the legal concept of the right to privacy back in 1890. As the source points out, the U.S. Constitution originally made zero mention of privacy. They defined it simply and beautifully as the right to be left alone, and they had to construct this whole legal framework as a direct response to the invention of the camera. Let's move to Section 3. The end of off the record. Trading the right to be misunderstood. So how might modern AI wearables threaten that historical right to be left alone? Well, commentators argue that when every poorly phrased thought, half-baked idea, or edgy private joke is recorded, transcribed, and indexed on some corporate server, we lose something fundamentally human. We literally lose the right to be wrong.
Think about it. Every successful friendship, marriage, and business relies at least partially on things said badly, maybe said in fleeting anger and then immediately withdrawn. If everything is on the permanent record, people don't necessarily become more honest, they just become hyper-careful. They stop thinking out loud. They stop risking anything in conversation.
Returning to our CNN reporter's story, the core fear raised in the analysis is that these devices aren't just objective, neutral fact-checkers. They are manufacturing permanent inferences. That bracelet decided the reporter was anxious. Now, that conclusion just exists in a file somewhere in a company's massive system, ready to inform the next inference about her, and the one after that. She is trading her off-the-record, complex, messy human self for a digitized, permanently judged record.
Section 4. The pressure to adapt. Wear it or fall behind.
So, if all these incredibly valid privacy and social concerns exist, why would anyone actually adopt this technology? Well, the analysis highlights that product pitches for AI wearables are starting to sound almost like threats. Take this perspective from Meta's Mark Zuckerberg. He suggested that a person without AI glasses may be at a significant cognitive disadvantage against the people they work and compete with. The forecast being delivered by tech giants is crystal clear. Wear it or fall behind.
And this perfectly captures the corporate shift we're staring down. The commentary warns that right now, sure, declining to wear a smart pin or AI glasses might just be seen as a quirky personal preference, but 2 years from now, when your entire team's meetings, action items, and maybe even performance reviews are running entirely off automated device transcripts, opting out won't just be a preference, it is going to be a professional problem. Companies won't explicitly forbid you from opting out, they'll simply build the entire office workflow around the assumption of constant recording. The cost of holding out is going to fall squarely on you.
Finally, Section 5. Setting new social boundaries. Etiquette bends around the device.
I know, this all sounds pretty daunting, but is this constantly recorded future entirely inevitable? Remember the 1890s? Just as society pushed back against early cameras, critics argue we already have the historical blueprint to establish etiquette long before the courts or Congress ever step in. Back then, beach owners didn't sit around waiting for laws to be passed. They just posted no-camera signs. Newspapers actively shamed invasive behavior, branding those people Kodak fiends. Ordinary folks simply started telling their guests to put the camera away when they came over. Society pushed back first.
The analysis emphasizes a highly empowering point here. You absolutely do not have to wait for the law to protect your off-the-record life. We are allowed to say, not in my house. We are totally allowed to look at someone and say, take the glasses off, put the phone down, stop recording. And yeah, it is going to be incredibly awkward at first. But social awkwardness is the exact mechanism that creates boundaries. Enduring that awkwardness is literally the only thing that has ever successfully set a social norm before the law caught up. Etiquette bends around the device, but only if we force it to. Ultimately, as we stand at the edge of this massive technological shift, the device itself isn't the real danger. The real danger is a society willing to blindly trade the right to be left alone just so they can identify a building without reaching into their pocket for their phone. So, we're left to ask ourselves this absolutely vital question. Are you willing to trade your off-the-record self, your right to be perfectly misunderstood in private, for mere convenience? Make sure you know exactly what trade you're making. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.